Welcome to Film with Family. My name is Zach.
And my name is Austin.
And we are two cousins who love to talk about movies. We are continuing Mom Month all May long. And today we have a special guest, Alexandra Zweifler. Previously, Alexandra Kubiak, who is my sister-in-law, the wife of my brother Caleb. Hello, Alex.
Hi. That all sounded so... That made me so happy to hear all that.
Feels crazy, but yeah.
You have a sister-in-law.
You're my sister-in-law. It's great. I'm very happy to have you a part of the family. You've been a great addition.
Thank you. I'm already gonna my hormones are very wild right now, so I could start crying right now within the first 30 seconds of this recording.
So are you officially a Zweifler now?
Officially, yeah. I got the social security card and everything, dude. Yeah.
You changed your name?
I changed my name.
What's that process like? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it's funny because without really thinking about it, I was like, I'm gonna get a new social security number. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, that would mean a lot in terms of, like, I'm like, I might not have any loans anymore. So, school loans. But so the process is, going to, getting married, submitting the marriage license with your new updated name, going to the Office of Social Security, which I didn't even know existed until I did this. And then you have officially changed your name and you get a new social security card. And then after that, which is the next step, most recent that I took, you go to the Secretary of State and you update your ID. And then from there is like just constant correction with like W-2s and stuff like that. And at first and forever before, this decision, I was like, I'm not going to change my name ever, and like, anyway, me and Caleb, as we talked about it, I realized a lot about my own attachment to my name and my past, and it started to become really excited about this being a representation of me now. And it feels really rejuvenating, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Zweifler clan. I'm still a Pruett though. So I can't say that I will ever change my name to Zweifler. Although I did consider it for a second.
Really?
Yeah, because so I studied philosophy in college, and Zweifler is I believe German for a doubter, somebody who doubts.
Yeah, like a skeptic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought, well, if I was a philosophy professor and I was like Dr. Zweifler, like Dr. Doubter, I'm like, that's pretty perfect as a philosophy teacher. I mentioned it to my dad and he got pretty pissed off. So I was like, okay, well, yeah,
Glenn?
probably want to. Yeah, Glenn.
I hope I get to meet Glenn.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever met him.
No, I've talked with him on the phone a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, he's super thoughtful. He's sent us letters, and I love also just staying connected with people through stationery, and especially in the winter months. And so we've sent some letters.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like looking at so I studied German actually. And
yeah.
it's funny because I always thought Zweifler was I'm looking for the word for cyclone because I thought it was cyclone, and then I realized through the Zweifler family that it actually is like doubter, skeptic, and anyway, I just know I'm hooked on it. And
I feel like it's like Yiddish kind of, or because I mean we're not from Germany, we're from Romania and we're Jewish, so I don't know if the name is technically has German roots, but I think it is.
I think it does. Yeah.
I thought it did.
Yeah, last time at least in an updated like German
said.
Dictionary, it does. Last time I looked, but it's funny because cyclone is not even close. It's Wirbelsturm for cyclone. So I had that one wrong.
Very strong.
And Kubiak, is that Polish or what is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Like, I mean, it made it easier because I've loved my Polish ancestry, and going from Polish to German, I'm like, that's the only,
Yeah. It's
that's the
pretty
only way I
close.
would have done it. I think like if your last name was Smith, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my mom, Donna, is a Sawinski, also Polish. So
Two Polacks converting to Deutsche.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we have a lot in common. I love your mom.
But yeah, we should say that you recently, another big event for you is that you recently had a baby named Sailor.
That's right.
How's that going?
Sailor Bean. It's going pretty fantastic. Sailor's middle name was almost, God, what was his name that we were thinking about it being? Starkwind. So he was going to be Sailor Starkwind Zweifler.
Is that like
Uh,
black wind or something?
it means gale or gust of wind.
Okay.
Yeah, and
In
like
German.
in German.
Oh, yeah, because stark means like hard,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
So hard
and
wind.
it's not. We settled with Delta Mark.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't be happier. Starkwind. Yeah.
Oh man, that would have been a sick name though. That'd be pretty cool.
I know. We're
Taylor
every
Stockwind.
yeah.
It sounds sort of villainous.
I see when I say it, his name like that, I imagine I can see his album art of him, like arm like just
Or just like mascara and
yeah.
all black.
Yes. Yeah, total death metal. But it's going really great. He's a joy, and our family feels very
You're a unit.
I wanted to say complete, but you never know what that really means, but it feels complete for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he was born, it was like almost New Year's Eve, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, December 30th.
Yeah, the eve of New Year's Eve.
And his original due date is tribute to Austin, I believe, for calling it out before I really even I met you. And I thought, and yeah, his original due date was expected to be on January 6th. And so there was the whole, controversy over him being a proud boy. And I was like, please, I mean, hoping not for that, for more than that reason.
Controversy.
I couldn't resist the joke. You sent that email with the expected due date.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone with Zach that day, and I was like, I bet I hope he's not a proud boy. And then I was like, should I write that? And Zach's like, it's pretty good. You should do it or something. And I think I told my Uncle John, and he was like, oh, you gotta send that.
Which is funny because I didn't get it. I was like, okay, Austin, I've never met. Like he's like, I imagined he was being like some like hipster kind of like it was like some joke that was just beneath me. And
no,
I realized, oh yeah, that okay. You're
January 6th is beneath all of us.
Well, and I meant, that was you were above me. I was beneath you.
I get it.
Yeah, and we should say that Sailor is a reference to a movie, the name Sailor. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it was really hard for me to actually let go of doing Wild at Heart because obviously that movie is near and dear to me. But yeah, Nicolas Cage's character Sailor, Sailor Ripley in Wild at Heart, and that movie is really nostalgic for me and Caleb too. And that movie was for me, like when I watched it initially, it was when I had freshly discovered David Lynch and Twin Peaks, and I just went on a full streak of Mulholland Drive and just everything back to back, where they kind of bled into one movie, as you can imagine, being watching all those back to back. But anyway, that one especially really just stamped my heart. I remember after watching that movie, I wore bright red lipstick like constantly, like Lula. The There's a lot of
Yeah,
meaning there for me. Like,
for
I
sure.
love the Barbie as an icon, and that's
Mm,
really tied into, I think, the representation of Lula, and so
hmm
her character spoke to me a lot. But so yeah, Sailor Ripley from that movie, inspired Sailor Delta Mark's name.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, and we both love that movie, me and Austin. So I know Austin's a big
Yeah.
David Lynch fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, as am I. I vote that we do at some point later on two things I would like to inspire for Film with Family. One is doing some like director tribute. So we could do like, like Lynch month or Lynch week or something. And also I would really love to do, I think inspired from the recent Olivia and Natanya drop,
hmm
couples. Like I was like, maybe, I mean,
hmm
February is a long time away, but like doing couples month because I would love to get on
Ooh.
with Caleb.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. That's a
But
great
yeah,
idea.
I agree. I mean, we could even do like a Wild at Heart week kind of breakdown.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah.
lot for an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah. But I mean, the more I thought about it, I was like, we should have just done Wild at Heart because it is kind of a mom movie. Like the relationship between Lula and her
Totally.
mom. Also, that would be our third Nicolas Cage movie, and we
Yeah.
just did Moonstruck with my
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
mom.
yeah.
Yeah.
Moonstruck's coming out the week before
Yeah. I
this, so
heard.
we don't want to too much Cage.
But Phantom Thread.
The Phantom Thread is a 2017 film directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, as we've said. The same year as Lady Bird, another Mom Month selection. It stars Daniel Day-Lewis, Vicky Creeps, and Leslie Manville. And it's about a renowned British dressmaker, Reynolds Woodcock, comes across Alma, a young, strong-willed woman who soon becomes a fixture in his life, his muse and lover. So that's the little synopsis there. Alex, what do you say this is your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie?
Don't do that.
Don't ask about favorites.
Yeah. I mean, it's very special, but like,
Mm.
Licorice Pizza and There Will Be Blood. I mean, Inherent Vice,
Yeah, Inherent Vice might be my
The
favorite.
Master. Like,
Punch Drunk Love is
oh
also a
my
big
gosh,
one
they're
for
all
me.
so good. They're all so
Boogie
good.
Nights.
Boogie
Boogie Nights is
Nights.
good. Yeah.
Come on.
He's so eclectic,
He's
PTA.
one of my, yeah, he's definitely one of my guys. Like, he's very consistent, incredible filmography.
It totally, and like with Lynch, he has a very like that, he even, has the, Caleb will often say that's so Lynchy, that's so Lynchy. And PTA just, I mean, like that is something about Lynch. He's created this like new genre, right?
Yeah.
PTA is very Paul Thomas Anderson. He tries different things. You couldn't necessarily know by looking at it, this is a Paul Thomas Anderson film.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
little harder to pin down, I would say.
But I
For
love
sure.
what he does to my brain.
Yeah, Austin, how do you feel about Paul Thomas Anderson? What's your history with this guy?
I think he's great. I wouldn't say I'm as much of a PTA head as you guys are. But Boogie Nights has been up there in my top 10 probably since I was a teenager. I love that movie.
Rick Diggler.
Dirk Diggler, and
So good.
I think that movie is just an incredible rise and fall. I love a good rise and fall. I love seeing people crash and burn. It's a lot of fun. I think I've seen all of his movies, but I think I've only seen each of them once.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, no, I also realized like I mean, granted, I really got turned on to him in the midst of a lot of, just being a mom. So
Mhm.
I haven't been able to really like get, go full blown into, staying up and watching movies. But so
Yeah.
I also like I haven't watched There Will Be Blood in so long, and I haven't Boogie Nights I've watched more than once, more than twice. But the others too, like I believe I've only watched once, but they
Yeah.
made a pretty big impact. They just really stood out.
Yeah, I think his movies really reward the rewatch, especially Inherent Vice and Phantom Thread. I think that the first time I saw both of those movies, I was kind of a little underwhelmed, but the second time I watched them, I'm like, wait, I love these movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I struggled with Inherent Vice, and I don't think I've returned to it since.
Ah,
But I love his music videos are really good.
Oh yeah.
Like the Anima Tom York kind of like short film that was based
oh
on his
yeah.
album that came out, I think, like in
I
2019
forgot about that.
is just really beautiful. And I know that he obviously he works with Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead very closely.
Yeah, Johnny Greenwood did the score for Phantom Thread.
I think he's
Yeah.
done all of his scores since
There'll Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I never even made that connection and I'm even more in love now.
You a Radiohead head?
I mean, not I feel like it would be a sin to actually say that because no, but like I
Yeah.
fall in love with things a lot and I
Hmm.
don't really necessarily outside of like Lynch really like dive just like have like a like a
Hmm.
year dive into something. I'm just like that's awesome. Then I go into it for a few days or something and then like kind of move on to the next thing. But
Alex, when was the first time you saw this movie? Do you remember?
I think I just randomly discovered it showing on Netflix with Caleb
Yeah.
maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's been on Netflix for a long time.
Yeah, and for the record, I've actually only seen this film 2.5 times.
Mm. Well, I've only seen it once, so.
Yeah, this was Austin's first time.
Hmm.
This was my third time seeing it. And yeah, I love it even more after every rewatch.
Yeah.
There's so
Hmm.
many. It's a very nuanced film that really, like I said, rewards rewatching, I think.
I told this to you, Zach, but it really gives me flashbacks of Tar. I know we bring Tar into pretty much every episode, but
I need to watch
uh,
it.
You bring up Tar, we'll say. It's mostly you, but
yeah. Well, Caleb insisted that we bring up Tar in every episode, or else he'll be tarnished.
that's true. He did say that on the pod, so
Tar and Film
Um,
with Family.
yeah. Tar with Tar. But it does have that same vibe to even to a degree where I'm like, did Todd Field like try to make Phantom Thread? Like, I think that like Tar and Phantom Thread have a lot of
I
parallels.
definitely have to watch that.
yeah, the Kate Blanchett character and the Daniel Day-Lewis character, there's definitely
Yeah.
some parallels there for
Yeah, they're
sure.
both like sophisticated craftsmen with like very short tempers, and the movie like feels and is edited very similarly.
And they're both kind of slow and long movies where you're like not sure where it's headed kind of thing.
Yeah, and I had the same feeling after watching Phantom Thread as I did with Tar, where I was just kind of like, what did I just watch? And then like every subsequent hour after the movie finished, it ruminated in my head, and it like, I don't know, it just ages well and very rapidly. And you just think about how bizarre and unique, and this movie is really funny too. Like, it's very funny.
Yeah,
Tar
for
or
sure.
Phantom Thread?
They're both pretty fun, but Phantom Thread, I think the more you think about it, the more like you kind of release yourself from like the disturbing kind of like weird abusive relationship that they're in. I think like it's just pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I
I
think
also think it's hilarious.
yeah, I think Daniel Day-Lewis's character is pretty funny, just how much of an asshole and a dick he is. And it's funny because his name's Woodcock and he's a dick. It's perfect.
Yeah, he is a bit wooden too. That was Daniel Day-Lewis's invention.
Yeah.
Reynolds Woodcock, like he came up with that name.
Oh, nice.
It was also his last film.
Yeah.
So what a great character and experience for him to write out on.
Yeah, he decided to retire because I guess he got really depressed making this movie.
This is so interesting. Okay.
Wait, so he decided to retire because of this movie?
Pretty much.
In the interviews
What?
I've watched, he's like pleaded the fifth kind of thing. Like he doesn't talk about it. But this is really interesting if we ever get a chance to really talk about interpretation of the film. This is
Oh,
directly
that's
related
what
to,
we're here for.
yeah.
Let's interpret.
Yeah, go off.
I mean, that's really interesting that you just said depression for him, and that was directly related to him. That his character and him making this movie really put him into a depression bout. Because so as I'm watching this movie, so the first time watching it, I'm watching it and taking it all in, right, and like giggling 5 seconds after the thing happened that made me giggle, and I'm like, huh, can't wait to watch that again, kind of thing, right? And
Yeah.
then the next time watching it was more just noticing, just noticing the parallels between the movie and theories of what it means and relating it to my own experience. And the third time being more aware of, different shots and the camera and the chemistry between characters and things like that. But so that's like that's been my ride with it. And then I started to look into watching interviews and listening to interviews between characters and just one-on-one, like with Vicky Creeps, who I discovered through this film and I am in love with.
That's
And
Alma, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
Alma's character. And as I'm going into looking at watching these interviews, I'm thinking for sure, like I was telling Caleb, who I've really held back on talking to about this week, especially because it's been like a private experience for me, really thinking about it. And as I am with film, especially with this one, because of the relationship I've made between its meaning in my life and how I can relate my experience to the film, it's become a really like personal endeavor. Um, and so I feel kind of like possessive over it, honestly.
Mhm.
And as I'm going into looking at interviews, I'm thinking for sure that they're, sorry, my brain, welcome to my brain.
It's all
I,
good.
I was telling Caleb earlier this week, I was like, I think that this film is really about depression. And he's like, really? I didn't get that at all. And I'm like, because okay, it's not so simple, right? It's not so simple that it's just about depression. It's definitely a love story. It's a dark comedic love story too, and through one lens. And through another lens, it's also to me about depression because one, the representation of Reynolds' character to me really on its own represents depression and the way that, and then him living in depression, and honestly not just depression but the intermingling of many different mental health diagnoses. I see in a lot of which I could relate to his character so much. His moodiness, his preferences, like, okay, I'm thinking about OCD and I'm thinking about like autism and ADHD and his special interests that he has with design and its mood swings and potential, borderline personality or bipolar. And he has just all that. To me, it really represented the intersectionality of mental illnesses as we've come to become more aware of them today. And so him and his own character did that for me. But then also the dance between characters of Reynolds and Alma also really represented mental illness and primarily depression to me throughout the film because of things like how the way that the characters fed off of each other and how their love and relationship became very
interdependent or something.
on each other. So we go through the film and Reynolds is a very moody, very particular, very like childlike character, right? And he's like a self proclaimed bachelor, and it introduces that at the beginning of the movie, right? He has a muse and she feels useless, and his sister Cyril says, do you want me to get rid of her and I'll give her this dress, right? And then he goes out for a ride in the country and she says she'll meet up with him later, and then he discovers Alma, and when he goes to order breakfast, right? And
it's a great
so
scene.
this is
she's the waitress, a little clumsy waitress.
Yes.
Just before you get in, just because I want to pause on this scene because it's so lovely.
Please break up my thought process a little bit.
No, I want you to continue, but so I heard that scene like the first time filming it was like the first time going over it. Like they recorded all of the rehearsals, and some of those made it into the final cut.
And side note, this is also why I love this movie, because it's not just about the movie itself, but it's also about when you learn more about the movie and the making of the film, there's that's a beautiful part of this to really think about, and how that played a role in the result of the film, and the making of the film was very, very personal for these actors.
Yeah, and like very intuitive, like the whole fact that there's no cinematographer, and that P.T. Anderson just kind of decided to take the reins and do it himself.
Well, like his favorite filmographer or like his cinematographer wasn't available that he works with. And so he was like, I'll just do it myself. I know my stuff.
Yeah.
And he also did his own photography for Licorice Pizza as well.
Mm.
Oh, he did. Technically, because of the unions, you have to have a cinematographer on a film in America. But because he filmed it in London, he kind of got away with not having to have a cinematographer, which some people kind of like criticize him for and think that like they kind of, I mean, because, you know, the movie wasn't eligible for best cinematography in the Academy Awards because there is no cinematographer technically.
That's interesting.
Even though that the film is so beautifully photographed, it's just incredible.
Yeah, totally. So go to the scene. Here I am, like super excited about talking.
No,
about
but I do want to talk
It's...
about that scene because the way that man orders breakfast is incredible.
And come to find out, it's also kind of, I guess he's kind of poking fun at Paul Thomas Anderson too, because like they're in their own relationship of ordering breakfast. Like that's Paul Thomas Anderson would order these extravagant breakfasts basically, and Daniel Day-Lewis is like making fun of him a little bit as they so there's that. And
I can't say I've ever ordered a Welsh rabbit for breakfast.
Welsh rabbit? That's the first thing he orders.
Yeah.
Morning.
Morning.
What would you like to order?
A Welsh rabbit. With a poached egg on top, please. Not too runny. And bacon. Scones. Butter. Cream. Jam. Not strawberry.
No. Raspberry.
What else?
Coffee or tea?
Do you have lapsang? Have a pot of lapsang, please.
Good choice.
And some sausages.
And some sausages.
It really like further solidifies his preferences, and that he is this demanding character.
Yes.
And the play between them demonstrates, as I think to me, this wrapping of the first chapter of the movie really is like, so his character, you know, solidifying these preferences and him being demanding, and then Alma reacts to it calmly, playfully, and it is just really it's really,
she's accepting of it,
very accepting of it.
He is a very coddled man,
to say the least.
He wants his mama all the time, and
he's a mama's boy for Mom Month.
Yeah, we got another mama's boy in the house.
Yeah,
a hungry boy.
For the hungry boy.
He's very hungry.
First thing she does is serve him food and remembers his order. And he's like, you will fit in nicely.
That's he plays with that. He's like, no, I'm going to take this. Will you remember it? And that's like, you know, I think kind of an example of the rest of the movie too. Kind of like, if I do this, can you play along? And she's like, well, yeah, like I'm up for the challenge, you know? Totally. And also her entering and being very clumsy and making all this racket and being juxtaposed to his character and how they're like turned on to each other. And I think I mean, it's just so beautifully done, and the way that she pours the tea, everything is so loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
And but then at the end of that shot, it kind of like zooms out slowly, and it's kind of to me like, and here you have it. And so the story goes, right? Like here are the characters that we've really introduced and solidified these character traits of. How will it go on?
Yeah, I can really see the infatuation in his eyes when he's ordering the breakfast too.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that he is so attracted to her when she like clumsily enters and like falls over herself, and how much he grows to resent
Yeah.
like how she's like kind of clumsy and noisy like that, like quickly gets on his nerves, but it's like initially what attracts him to her, which is interesting.
Yeah, and so I'll try to just kind of tie in my interpretation of this film to each scene that we kind of break apart. I think that I can relate that to my experience too, because of, getting something new and exciting to that's temporary relief to that feeling of just, as he says before he leaves to the country, that feeling unwell. And, to me, I can understand that in depression. I'll say sometimes like I'm just not feeling well. It's just kind of, and you can't really pinpoint it. And it's like it's seeping into him. That cycle is starting to come again. And his old muse is starting to not do it for him anymore. And so he's turned on to Alma, and his mood is lightened. He's smiling, he's being playful.
Mhm.
Yeah, you wonder if he's like kind of like, ooh, I want to like train this girl to like kind of fit my needs. But obviously, as the movie goes along, it's reversed. She kind of makes him soften to her.
It's a very masochistic relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit toxic.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
Toxic mushrooms are involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that
Oddly,
is
not our first movie that we've talked about poisonous mushrooms in. We've also
What's the other one?
Into the Wild.
Oh,
I didn't
was
listen
that a
to
mushroom though?
Oh, no. No, you're right. It's like the potato root or something like that. But I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like
it's still
yeah,
like foraging and eating
Yeah.
poison.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, in the poisonous mushroom, I mean, aside from also the scene itself at the point in the movie where it's presented, to me demonstrates that, a part of the cycle of, depression. But also I was thinking more about two things. One, the mushroom and what that symbolizes, and also like Phantom Thread and the title of the movie, right? And I'm trying to like connect these elements. And so in depression, you inevitably get to a part of feeling so just sick and worn down and tired, that it takes the end, like that desperation to revitalize you and revitalize your taste of life again. And that's what is happening with this cycle in the movie and the depression that's happening theoretically. Right. Alma finds this poisonous mushroom. She says, "You're tired. You need a break."
Yeah,
and she makes
forces it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the result of that is them getting married, him asking her to marry him. It's like it's created it's given the relationship a new life that seemed to be in, just desolate. They like would never, they would never feel that way again. And it was the opposite. It gave them, it made him alive again. And then after that first time, it starts to, the princess comes along, and he's not giving Alma any attention again. And so she again gives him the mushrooms. And in the I'm getting ahead of myself, but then at the end of the film, what's beautifully done that second go round is they're making a very they're making it very well known that like you're not sure what's going to happen. It's so dark. The music that's playing, and she's preparing that mushroom, and she looks at him, and she just kind of like gives him this smile, like, "That's what you want me to do. I'm playing the role you want me to play." And she serves him, and he takes a bite, looking at her, not breaking that stare. And it's like there's this big elephant in the room. And then she just finally comes out and says it, "I want you flat on your back." I want you
Right.
helpless. You may feel like you want to die,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Mhm.
won't.
Yeah.
And to me, when she did that, it was like depression. For me, it
Yeah.
was just very, very obvious. And when I wasn't coming across any interviews that mentioned that. It was all about it being a love story with this demanding
Mhm.
man, and in the 50s and the role of a woman in London. And so it's interesting that
Yeah.
you started off the podcast talking about how it led him into a depression.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I think Daniel Day-Lewis, we know him as the world's most famous like method actor, and so
Mhm.
like he like as always stays in character during a film shoot, which a lot of people bemoan that process, but also people say he's one of our best actors of all time.
Yeah.
So
Hands
it's like,
down, one of my favorites.
yeah, like I guess on the Crucible, like he never showered or something. He just like stank really bad, and everybody in the crew like was like, God, this guy stinks,
I would have
literally.
loved to be on set with him then for Gangs of New York.
Yeah, I think he like got pneumonia or something from Gangs of New York, or because he was like just like trying to live in like the situation that character was living in, and like got pneumonia or something. I don't know. So he goes a little too far, maybe, and I think there is something about this character that I think maybe hits too close to home for Daniel Day-Lewis, maybe
Mm.
because he is such a perfectionist, and he puts his work above everything else, and
Mhm.
that's like kind of how he views acting, and I think that's kind of what put him maybe in a depression spiral, is like feeling like, damn, this asshole is too much who I am.
Mm.
That's beautiful that you said that. He was talking in an interview about how his goal as a method actor is to take on that character, so much so that his goal is hopefully there will come a point where he's walking down the street and he views the world as that character would view the world.
Mhm. Yeah, and he, just taking it back, because I feel like really the mother is the central, like, kind of psychic part of this film, because he misses his mother so much. And I know that P.T. Anderson said that, like, when you see Cyril and him sitting together, like at the table, like he wanted it to feel like they're two orphans. And for all we know, they are. We don't know when, like, his mother. Do we know exactly when his mother died? Because I mean, he kind of talks about her like in terms of the dress that she wore.
I think, as far as I remember, I thought he just remembered it, when he was a boy.
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
like carrying the mother's like hair. Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
inside the seam
That
of his
part, that
jacket.
scene where he says, "Do you have a picture, a photo of your mother?" And she's like, "Well,
Yeah.
yes, it's at home." And he says, "I carry." He
Yeah.
said, "Carry her with you always." And then
Yeah. Yeah.
Caleb cracked up. We're like, "Red flag!" Like,
Yeah, the first date red flag. That's a big
Yeah.
one. For sure.
Totally. Yeah, it's like a
don't
little
ever
too
let it
much.
go.
Yeah, it's like I always carry a lock of my mother's hair in my breast pocket. It's like,
Well, he said
ugh.
he introduces it actually by saying, like, you can tie almost anything into a jacket, and it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's in
secrets.
there? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
also him like forcing her to wipe off like the lipstick to
Oh
like so he
yeah.
can see her. That's
Now
like
I can see
that feels
you.
like a red flaggy kind of move too, like trying to
Yeah.
control her to
I
Yeah.
how he
mean,
wants to see her.
But also the mother, like, I mean, and obviously in so many ways, Alma, he's looking for, that relationship for, or, pieces of his mother through his muse, right?
yeah.
And I think it becomes, they make it, PTA makes that very clear at the moment where when he's sick the first time from the mushroom and Alma walks in and he's hallucinating and seeing his mother right there on the wall and Alma
Yeah.
enters.
So creepy.
Yeah, it's like a young version of his mother, and he's like talking to her and saying how he misses her.
I miss you. I think about you all the time. I hear your voice say my name when I dream. Then when I wake up, there are tears streaming down my face. I just miss you. It's as simple as that. I want to tell you everything.
that's his thing. That's his trauma, his mother and losing her. And this is something that he is dwelling on, something from his past for the rest of his life, right? And that he's trying to find in the world around him to bring her back, and he can't.
Right. And the dress, I mean, maybe like his whole fascination, his whole career is based around, this wedding dress that he doesn't know where it is. He's like, it's, where he's like looking at the photo and he's like, I don't know where where the dress is.
Now that you said that, when I was watching that, I was trying to tie that into my interpretation, and there could be, I mean, it's worth thinking about the relationship between that and the princess's dress, the gown.
Right, of course.
End.
Yeah. Never cursed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I mean, yeah, and I never heard that. Have you heard that about like touching like the superstition around wedding dresses? And
I hadn't, at least in our culture. But I wonder again with, PTA made it well known too that he knowingly went into this movie with it being set in London, that he would be at an extreme cultural bias, and he needed the help of his British, some people in making the film to help with make that, appropriate.
Yeah.
So maybe that was a part of it, but I'd never heard of that either.
It's mentioned at some point that like Cyril touched a wedding dress, and now that's why she's never wed.
Yeah, Alma said, did she ever get married? And he's like, no. And then he leaves. It's like, once again, flag, like, and she never will. She's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Cyril, I love his old so-and-so. She does a remarkable job. Such a small cast, and the relationship between them all speaks so strongly.
Yeah, it really is the kind of a love triangle between the three of them in a fucked up weird way.
Totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, like watching it this recent time, like I was like totally like kind of forgot that was his sister. And then I was like kind of laid into it. It's like, oh wait, that is his sister. Like I forgot about that. They don't feel like siblings at all.
For me, it was the first time watching it. I was like, wait, are they related? Like I missed that part at the beginning. And then as I watched it again, I picked up on, that they're clearly brother and sister.
Yeah, because he calls her my old so-and-so more than anything, which is not something you call your sibling usually.
Yeah.
And it's just a weird dynamic.
You don't call your sister your old so-and-so?
Maybe I should start. I don't know. No, it's not a good idea.
Alex, I don't even know. Do you have sisters or brothers?
Yeah, I have. Oh my gosh, to Zach Ben, I have 3 biological brothers, 1 half brother, 2 half sisters, and then I was raised with 4 additional stepsisters.
Oh wow,
big family.
You got a huge family.
Yeah.
Wow, so now we have so many more episodes.
We got to get them all on the pod.
Yeah.
Get them deep in the pod, as Mama Donna would say. She just casually said last weekend or something, I was over and she said, she's just, how she'll start ranting about something. And I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't tell me, like, is this real? This conversation, or, with YouTube videos on, did you see the elephant that was stuck in the mud? Or she started telling me about a podcast, and she's like, I'm sorry, I'm deep in the pod, as they would say.
That's hilarious.
She's a fan. But so anyway, so Cyril and and I have to just tangent with this one because I have 2 favorite, maybe 3, and probably the most memorable scenes of the film. And one is when when she enters the room in his house when they're living together, and and he's just sitting there working silently, and she makes a racket. He says good morning, and the toast, the tea pouring, everything is so much racket. And Reynolds says, it's as if a horse just walked through the room. And then he takes
too much movement for breakfast.
It's entirely too much movement at breakfast. And I relate to that. That's funny. Me and Caleb have an ongoing joke because I I feel that a lot. Like I get very overwhelmed with certain noises and movement, and in the mornings I'll say that to him. He's like, "A horse just walked through the room, Taylor."
Yeah, too noisy.
And he takes a bite of the Danish and slams it down and
Yeah.
exits the table.
Yeah. And Cyril's like, you just ruined his whole
Yeah.
day.
When Elma tells Cyril that she wants to do something special for Reynolds, and
Mhm.
and she's like, okay. And she's like, I want to change everything for a daily, like in his daily
Mhm.
routine, and surprise him. And she's like, I highly advise against this, Elma.
Mhm.
And so she finally, says, okay. And you can see it when she exits the house that night when,
She's like,
Alma,
good luck.
yes. And Reynolds gets home, and like 3 times in Alma's greeting, he just says, "Where's Cyril? Where's Cyril?"
Right. And he's like, I don't have my security blanket.
Yeah, it's wild. Cyril's just always the third wheel. Like anytime Alma thinks she's gonna have some one-on-one time, she'll just like show up at dinner and all that.
She makes sure that Reynolds has the routine that he requires. She is his safety net for that, right? Like when his old muse isn't working anymore and she offers to tell her to leave, right? Or
Mm.
Cyril, she makes sure that everything's in alignment just as he needs. And my other favorite scene is when when Cyril proposes that she gets rid of Alma, that she doesn't want her just waiting around for him, that she's pretty fond of her. And Reynolds says, "Oh, shut up, Cyril." And she says,
Mhm.
"You shut up. If you're looking
Mm.
for a fight, you will lose. I'll walk right
Yeah.
through you and you'll be the one
Yeah.
ended up on the floor."
Yeah.
And he just
And
looks
that
at
shuts
her.
them up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cyril's a very strong character, and apparently those two had a really great relationship building experience off camera through the movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
those two actors.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there are these screen tests that you can see online that Paul Thomas Anderson has commentary with, where he breaks down like every single shot and how they tested
Mhm.
like all the different lenses and all the different lighting and all the different film stock and everything. But at the very end of the test, there's this long scene that never made it into the movie of Cyril and Reynolds like having a huge food fight
What?
where like they
Mhm.
just like throw all the food on the table at breakfast at each other.
Yeah, they're like
It's
pouring tea at each other.
yeah,
It's
they're like
really
pouring
funny.
tea and like she like smears mustard all over his face and
Is he in
like
character the whole time, or are they
yeah.
laughing?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
are
they're
they do start laughing.
they're laughing, but he like stays in character and like he's got like mustard all over his face and then just like goes back to reading the paper. And he's like got like mustard in his eye and you can tell that he like really does. Like he's like, ow. Like
It's great footage.
yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's totally out of character for both of them. It's like I don't think either of these characters would ever do that. But
Wow, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, just going back to that scene about making too much movement at breakfast and stuff. I just love Vicky Creep's character Alma, that she just has this kind of sassy resilience to her, and
Totally.
and she just won't take his bullshit. Or
yeah,
like she doesn't like,
he's too fussy.
yeah, like she says that to Cyril right after he leaves that scene, that
Mhm.
that he's just being too fussy, after
Mhm.
she's like, well, maybe you should take your breakfast at a different time so you're not bothering him. And he's
Maybe
like,
in your room.
yeah. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. He just needs to learn to not be fussy.
Yeah.
I just love that she like fights him on stuff, and I don't know.
And she did since the beginning in the first
Yeah.
and when they first met for dinner. And he's measuring her, and he's just criticizing her, and you have no breasts, and
Mhm.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and she's getting annoyed, and then she says, and this is a big part of her character, is that she's a free woman, that she's free, and she's freely choosing to not be free in this relationship, but she demands as a result to certain attention from
Mm.
Reynolds. And I think, I mean, and he, although detests her for it, he can't do without it. He needs that angst. And I relate to that so much. I tell Caleb it's like I want to control him, but that he won't let me to a certain point. Like that's I love
That's
that
the
about
attraction. Yeah.
him. Yeah. He needs to also be strong. Like, so but in that scene, as he says, stand how you were before. And she's like, I am, and then he finally says, stand straight. And she's like, oh, you didn't say that. Like, is constantly giving him the sass. Or the scene where she's like, she ends up saying, like, well, maybe I'm looking for a fight. And he's like, stop. Just it's just going back and forth. And she won't stop.
Yeah, that's a great exchange. Maybe you have no taste.
Yeah.
Maybe I like my own taste. Yeah.
Or I love when she comes in with the tea.
No, Alma, what are you doing?
There's tea for you.
Don't put the tray on the table, please. Just take it off. I didn't ask for tea.
No, but
Take it out, please.
yes, I can take it out.
It's a bit late now, isn't it?
I'm taking it out.
Yeah, but it's a bit late now, isn't it?
But I'm taking it out.
The tea is going out. The interruption is staying right here with me.
It's so good.
Probably my favorite line though is I forget what they're talking about, but he's like, is this not my house? Are you a spy?
Do you have a gun?
He's like, do you have a gun? Do you have a gun? Where's your gun? Where's your gun? Where's your gun?
Yeah, I was like, this is an ambush. And it was just like her trying to have this nice, like, one-on-one night together. And he has the most awful reaction to it. He's such an asshole. I love it.
Why are you talking to me
Is this
like
my
this?
house? This is my house,
Yes,
isn't
this
it?
is
Is
your
this my
house.
house?
Of course it's your
Or
house.
did somebody drop me on foreign
question?
soil behind enemy lines?
You
I'm
brought me
surrounded on
here.
all sides.
It's you who brought me here.
When the hell did this happen? Who are you? Do you have a gun? You here to kill me? Do you have a gun?
Stop it!
Where's your gun?
Stop being a
Where's
child.
your gun?
Stop
Show me
playing.
your gun.
Stop playing this game.
And that there are characters there that are further played out. That's a really pivotal scene that Alma.
Yeah, she starts cooking up the mushrooms, or she's like, you see her with the mushrooms directly after that.
Right after
scene.
that, she's like, you're tired.
That is her gun, the mushroom.
The mushrooms are the gun.
That in that scene though too, it really plays which is so necessary, I think, for this, because this story could easily dry out earlier on, right? But it doesn't. So the thing I wanted to say about that and the meal fight scene is how instrumental those scenes are in this movie, because it allows for you're presented with different experiences that each of these characters really need, and it gives the other, like, they need these experiences, or in these experiences that are shown in the film, it shows like the needs of one of the characters and how the other one responds in this love relationship, right? And and in this one, Alma is showing her needs, and it's giving the Reynolds the chance to respond to her voicing her needs, and as a result, you really see Reynolds' childlike character as Alma is trying to be vulnerable and just raw and natural, and he avoids that confrontation by accusing her, right, of being, like, treating him like she's an assassin.
She kind of is.
Well, yeah, I mean, the poisoning is an assassin move for sure.
He definitely has a tendency to like, she accuses him, stop playing. He does a psychological play, and he does that throughout the film, and he really does it in this scene. And for so many reasons, I really relate to Reynolds' character a lot, and Alma's, and the dance between the two, but especially just in terms of my own moodiness and challenges with life. Reynolds really, his character, it really resonated with me, and it shows a lot of growth that he goes through as a result of him acknowledging the need for Alma and the need for that dance between the two.
Yeah, it is interesting that, like, in that, for like when she comes over to his house after their first date or whatever, and she asks, "So why you're not married?" And he just says, "I make dresses." Like that's his number one thing. But then he also says that like marriage would make me deceitful, but it doesn't
Mm,
really make him deceitful. It makes her deceitful more than anything because
mm.
he's an asshole, but I don't know if he does anything really deceitful.
Yeah. Just going back to the whole like being dependent on somebody, like when you're sick. Famously, P.T. Anderson is married to Maya Rudolph, incredible comedic actress. So the idea for the poisoning came from P.T. Anderson was really sick one day, and Maya Rudolph was like taking care of him. And he just thought, like, wow, this is like all I really want in my life is just like to be like taken care of. And then he like had this like subsequent thought where he was like, is she like, did she poison me so that she can like take care of me, like, and put me in this vulnerable state? So like that's where like the idea came from.
Yeah, that was like the
Mhm.
genesis of the whole film.
Yeah.
And he said,
Yeah.
like, he called Daniel Day-Lewis the next day. He's like, I have an idea for a movie.
That's just what I love about writer directors is that like they can just take the kernel of like just some very simple like weird thought that they have and like turn it into this grand idea.
It's especially it's just awesome when they work closely with an amazing actor too. And like I
Yeah.
guess Daniel Day-Lewis had a lot to do with the script writing here too.
Mm, yeah.
And similarly, like I haven't seen any interviews or anything between PTA and Joaquin Phoenix, but
Mm,
I would assume it would be very similar, you know, and he's a
yeah.
very strong character and actor. So
Yeah, I wonder because I do feel like P.T. Anderson's early career, you know, Boogie Nights and Magnolia and Punch Drunk Love, those have a very distinctly different feel from There Will Be Blood, The Master, Phantom Thread.
yeah.
And I just wonder what what that shift was because
Yeah, and with Phil.
you know, and I feel like I mean, he must have been really personally and artistically impacted by the death of Philip
Philip
Seymour
Seymour
Hoffman.
Hoffman. Yeah.
And I just wonder how that plays into like the tonal shift in his films, even though obviously Philip Seymour Hoffman's in The Master, but I don't know. I just like I feel like there's a big divide
And then his
in
son was in Licorice Pizza.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Philip
yeah.
Seymour Hoffman's son
Yeah. And that
plays
was
the
so
main guy
funny
in
because
there.
after that film, I told Caleb, I was like, he just reminds me so much of Philip Seymour Hoffman. You know,
Mhm.
and then we realized that connection.
It's him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder what was
Yeah.
going on for Paul Thomas Anderson in his life too. Just I mean, a person changes so much in that time span. Um, and
Hmm.
yeah, and then just, you know, thinking about like, so this film also does a really great job, I think, putting into spotlight the difficulties in you know, f- cultivating a healthy relationship and the give and take in a relationship that, you know, is really, I think, illustrated on in the extremes in this movie to really, you know,
Yeah, I also wonder um the historical context because this is 1950s London, so we're just post-war. And I mean, is Alma German? Because
yeah, I mean, it seemed like they played off her accent there.
yeah, and her name is German, right? Alma is a German name, I believe.
I
Um,
think so.
and I don't know. It's just like kind of like this subcontext where it's like
Hmm.
that makes like her whole poisoning thing a little more
Oh,
insidious.
wow. You went
You
there.
know, like
Yeah, totally.
yeah. I mean, almost not giving me Nazi vibes, but
Right.
I
Well,
mean, contextually, I think that it's possible.
well, it's interesting you say that too. It's tied in. Oh, another. It's tied into this that political woman. Um, who they make a dress for, and that
Rose, like Miss Rose or something.
The one that passes out.
blah blah Rose is going to ask you that scene where Cyril's like obviously going to say something intense, and she's like Anna Rose or whatever her name is, not Anna but something similar, is going to ask you to her wedding, and Reynolds' response is, what am I supposed to do with that? I really wish you'd waited till later to tell me that. And they go to her that whole whatever
event.
Yeah.
With the Dominican guy.
Yeah. And the result of, Alma at the just furious about her, because she just acts drunk and humiliates herself while dressed in the House of Woodcock. And that Alma is so upset, and Reynolds is like, stop crying. She's like, I'm not crying. He's like, stop bluthering. She's like, I'm not bluthering or whatever. And then she's like, just she doesn't deserve to be dressed like in your gown. And Reynolds, it shows him in a moment of like extreme validation. He's like, come on. And they go and they get the dress ripped off of her. And it brings those two. It's like if from doing that, Alma and Reynolds they've refound their love for each other, and it's like they're wild and young again from them demonstrating the respect for the House of Woodcock together.
Yeah, they've got a real like I'm just like thinking like Natural Born Killers or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And anyway, so that what made me think of that was that media event was a question a journalist or reporter asked, was something about her being tied into the anti-Semite, like, something with the Jews during the war or something. And so anyway.
Yeah, isn't there's some sort of like throwaway line where like Alma like is gonna go up to Cyril's room or something, and someone's like, oh, I don't like trust her or something like that. Like there's just like some like little line where they're like worried that she's gonna like steal something because of her heritage.
Oh, interesting. I missed that.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Zach?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I just know like they just don't really trust her at first. Yeah, there's some not totally sure about her intentions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, the big part of my love for this movie is just the whole aesthetic of it. I mean, we already talked about how great the cinematography is. I think this might be, from a cinematography standpoint, the best from Paul Thomas Anderson. I think this movie just is gorgeous from every frame. And
do you have a favorite frame or shot?
Well, I really love one in the honeymoon and when they're in the Swiss Alps and there's a shot of Woodcock and you see the mountains.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's my favorite shot too.
Yeah, that shot's incredible. Just getting really good at just photographing natural beauty and stuff. The lighting's incredible. I love that he's using like film stocks that are very grainy. Which is a big fan of film grain. Like I saw Skinamarink earlier this year, and that movie's all about film grain, and that was why I like that movie. It's like just the film graininess of it all, and it could be digital film grain, but either way, it is very film grainy, and I love that aesthetic. And this movie has it, and a lot of his other movies do. But yeah, also the fact that it's all the opulence of the setting,
the Georgian townhouse in London. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and all the dresses and stuff. And yeah, I was wondering, Alex, if you did you like all the dresses? Is that a draw for you in this movie?
Absolutely.
Like this?
Yeah, it actually was nostalgic for me because I mean, I think it added a whole different like texture to the film too, and something aside from all of the, psychological transformation things happening. It was also just like, look at this pleasant, like it was just very aesthetically pleasing to look at the different textures and designs, and especially of 1950s London. I love the scene where they're at the everyone's modeling. They have the models modeling the dresses, and Reynolds looks through the peephole at Alma. When I was little, I had a Barbie book that showed photos of Barbie posed differently in different gowns. And so it really made me think about that.
Yeah, talk about the shots also. I love all the cinematography for the car sequences because he drives like a madman.
Yeah.
And like the way they filmed the car, like the car is like kind of low in the frame, and you get a lot, and it just like looks like it's going so fast and has like this kind of intense energy. It kind of reminded me of Mandy, like how they shoot the driving
Good
scenes in
call.
Mandy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's incredible like how they shoot the car sequences, and it
It
really
was really good. I think it did a really great like it really tied for me into the time frame too. Of it feeling like I was in the 50s. And also as like something I wanted to mention that relates to, I think, is like how Hitchcocky I think this film is too.
Yeah.
Dark and the way it's shot.
Yeah. I mean, he was. I believe there's a movie Rebecca by Hitchcock that is almost like a direct parallel to this movie.
Yeah, I guess
and then
like
also
Rebecca and Vertigo.
And Vertigo, for sure. And I mean, I wonder if Hitchcock.
Yeah, could be a nod there.
Yeah, it's like a gothic romance, it's very subtle. There isn't a lot of, I mean, most of the story is told through the pictures and through the visuals of it. They actually shot not in a set, but in that house. That was like an actual Georgian townhouse that they shot in. And I heard an interview with P.T. Anderson where he's talking about why that was important to him, because he was like, we could have shot in a set and it would have been maybe a little easier in terms of blocking, but I was always wondering, like, what are you going to be seeing outside the windows? I wanted that to be like natural, like whatever you see outside the windows. And I wanted like actual natural light to be coming in through the windows. And I wanted those sounds of like creaking up stairs and like the floorboards and stuff like that. Yeah.
The stairs were a big shot in the film, I think. And I remember an interview talking about how like they had a different house that fell through and that it actually worked out really well for the different shots that they were able to get in this house that they ended up landing. And that staircase was beautiful.
It's a great house. Love the house.
House is nice. I mean, it's kind of a character in the film, you might say. So do you know anything about like London couture, like that, like the style?
No, I don't. And
I don't either. I don't know really anything about fashion. So
no, I don't either. I just like looking at it and I don't really care beyond that. But yeah, I guess P.T. Anderson was also like that, going back to what I was saying about how I admire him as an artist because he really challenges himself with, choosing these, like, that's not something he was familiar with either at all. And he just dove into it and did his best with trying to understand that, the culture there.
And Daniel Day-Lewis like studied with some fashion designers and actually learned how to like make a Balenciaga dress and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess he's a cobbler.
Yeah, he got big into shoemaking because he retired from acting before. I found out after the movie The Boxer, which I haven't seen.
I haven't seen that either.
But that was in 1997, and he's like, I'm done with movies. And he's like, I'm going to Italy. I'm going to study how to make shoes. And he did that for a while, and then he came back with Gangs of New York in 2002. So he has some history getting hands-on and making stuff. So it's cool that he actually got involved in making dresses and shit.
I love Daniel Day-Lewis.
Is this your favorite DDL?
I mean, I can't stop thinking about the milkshake scene in There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
That is just
drink it up.
I drank your milkshake.
I abandoned my boy.
You're just a bastard in a basket.
He's amazing. And that method acting, I mean, for me, that is like a big reason why I love film, is to like look at the characters and to think about what they were going through, and like thinking about, like, Joaquin Phoenix was mentioned, looking at, since he played the Joker, and also since that time in his career, I feel like you can see that change in him as a person too on camera. And similar, like Heath Ledger when he did Joker, and like how I loved that movie, both of those movies, in terms of like seeing something going on with that actor.
Mhm.
That was quite dangerous, obviously.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
Jared Leto got method when he got the Joker role as well. Even though I don't like Jared Leto or I
Yeah.
haven't seen that movie, but something about the Joker possesses actors.
And for Jack Nicholson, he was just like, just give me some makeup and let's go.
Let's dance around to Prince music.
dude.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that there is like a really good interview with Michael Keaton, just since we're talking about the Joker.
Yeah.
But he said that he was like, talking to Jack Nicholson about like, how are you getting into the role? And Jack Nicholson's just like, just give me the suit and I'm the Joker. Like he's just like, just put me in the clothes and I'm ready to go. It's just like it's all about just being in costume, which is I think does kind of tie into this movie because I mean, you do see kind of a transformation in their relationship in that scene where he's measuring her. And then when you see her walk into the dinner or the restaurant when she's like wearing the dress, it's like, oh, she's like his now. Like now they are a unit.
You're truly beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And that scene, that's when she's introduced to Cyril too, and like, they think they're having this like nice intimate moment, and then all of a sudden,
she
like
bangs
Cyril
him.
walks in, and
Yeah.
not even he doesn't even like introduce her as like, yeah, this is my sister. He doesn't say anything. It's just like she just walks in, starts taking her measurements.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wrote in my
yeah.
notes that like that scene of him like doing the measurements is like it feels like a sex scene. Like it's like the closest
Yeah.
thing to a sex scene they have, and the music, and it's like very sensual, and like but then like Cyril just like pops in and the music changes and you see on Alma's face he's like, what's she doing here? I thought we were having this like
Yeah.
intimate thing, and
Yeah.
then he's like, you have no breasts and all that.
Yeah, it's like Alma being violated really through that scene.
Yeah,
Through
and I
that
just
comment. And
Yeah, when he's like,
that
I'll
turn,
give you breasts if I want to.
if I
if I
want
want
to, if I
to.
choose to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at
such
the
a
end,
such a big turn for that scene.
that's a great interpretation, Zach. And then Cyril saying, you're just his type. He likes a small belly. And
Yeah, he
Alma's
likes a little
face is
belly.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, she looks like,
It's like,
what
oh,
the
this is
fuck am
fucked.
I doing
Another
here?
red flag.
Yeah, but she likes it.
Yeah,
So
she does love him.
something you mentioned, like when they're at dinner, that when they go to that restaurant, something that made me think of was the constant, well, not constant, a few times through the movie, there is some foreshadowing, I think, when Alma says to him that he looks hungry, or for the hungry boy. And these, I think she's like, that makes me think about the mushroom, basically, and the hunger for more. Are you getting depressed enough or tired enough to be so hungry that I need to get you sick again? Right? She says like, or like, you look so thirsty, and he looks at her like, I want to ravish you. And then and each time that, I think that's interconnected somehow.
Yeah, literally the last line of the movie is him saying, I'm getting hungry.
Kiss me, my girl, before I'm sick.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, that's after she says, I want you on your back. And then like he's like, how is he gonna react to this? And he's like, he loves it. And then they kiss, and the music, like the strings go
Yeah, the soundtrack is so good.
It is so good. And I didn't, it's
score.
funny. So I was listening to an interview about, the score, and, or, where it was brought up. And as it was, I was like, I don't remember music at all. And then I watched it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, it really made me aware.
There's almost music through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of piano, beautiful piano and strings, and lends very much in the opulent kind of London period piece vibe.
So good.
I have kind of a theory that I want to throw out there. So when she first poisons him, she literally gives him just the teeniest little thimble full of the mushroom, and he gets violently ill. And then at the end of the movie, she just pours like 10 full mushrooms like into an omelet, and he supposedly eats the whole thing. I mean, is Reynolds dead at the end of this movie? Because I know that they
No.
well hold on, because
No,
it's like,
no, I'm shutting this down.
I mean, because she does say that she can like see into the future, and like she fantasizes about the future. So that final scene of like them having a baby, like all of a sudden, and Cyril's taking care of it and they're walking around, like, is that just like some
Oh,
kind of like
yeah.
projected fantasy? And like, is Reynolds dead at the end of the movie,
That's
actually?
interesting because also it kind of lends itself, that theory lends itself to the ongoing interview that she's having with the doctor. As
Right,
if she's talking
exactly.
about him in the past tense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's some legs to it. I mean, it's at least open to interpretation, because I mean, like, I don't know why. I mean, because PTA is so specific about how he shows information in his movies, and it's like, we're gonna show that like she gave him this much,
Mhm.
and then at
Yeah.
the end, it's like, I'm gonna show like an entire frying pan full of these deadly mushrooms.
Like that wasn't an accident. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think like just scientifically, I don't think if if such a tiny amount is going to get you that sick.
Maybe he's grown tolerance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
I feel like just like the whole feeling that I get from the movie is that she loves to take care of him and she does love him, so I don't see why she would want to kill him. But
Hmm.
maybe she did it accidentally. Maybe she just did too much. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I don't think she would intentionally try to kill him because she seems to like they found a dynamic that works for them.
It also kind of seems like, maybe, I mean, yes, she does love him so much. And that in this movie, as it is Hitchcocky, doesn't say anything that that statement doesn't mean then she also wouldn't want him dead. It's very like this dance between murder and love is
Yeah.
not taboo.
When she says, "I want you flat on your back," I thought she was saying like, "I want you dead."
Yeah. And then she says, you won't die. You might feel like you want to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think she just wants him sick because she likes to take care of him, and he's so much nicer that way. He's not an asshole when he's sick because he feels like he's being mommied and he wants to be mommied.
Which is very much a man thing. I don't know if you guys are aware
What?
of this, but
To be taken care of when you're
when
sick.
you're sick, men
Oh,
are
absolutely.
known for being so much whinier and like help me, as I'm saying that, I mean,
Mhm.
I am very pitiful when I'm sick. But have you heard that the
I
men?
mean, I certainly we kind of talked about this in the Into the Wild episode, because when Chris McCandless is dying and poisoned at the end of the movie, he's just like dreaming about going back home with his mom. And I think that it is, I mean, whenever I'm sick and I'm alone, like I get like doubly depressed,
Yeah,
because I just want somebody, and I always think of my mom like taking care of me,
yeah,
when I'm sick. Because yeah, I mean, like, you have those like formative, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you could probably speak to it as a mother. Like, I'm sure that like, because kids get sick a lot. And I
right.
think that it's like in your head as like like formative experiences of you like
Absolutely.
being sick and being taken care of by your mother, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's interesting how nature has done that to us
Mm-hmm.
to get like there are sicknesses, and as a
Mm-hmm.
result of being sick, we crave that socialization and that nurturing component that we might not, even if in the, strongest case of isolation like Reynolds. But
Mm-hmm.
even that case, when you're sick, you are compassionate and you're just broken down to your natural defenses and instincts. And yeah, as a mother, I mean, when my kids are sick, I even when they're not sick and I think they're sick, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sick over it, and I want to just. It's funny, like
Mm-hmm.
I can be such a germ freak,
Yeah, yeah, like a
but when they're
germaphobe.
sick, yeah. That's so much more politically correct.
Germ freak.
Ableist language I'm trying to rid of, and it's hard. But so I could be like, compulsively washing my hands, but when my kids are sick, I like want to be I want to take it in and feel what it is that they're feeling.
Yeah.
I remember a time where I was very, very sick, and not from just from something that happened to me, and I just wanted my mom there. And she consoled me for a short time, but her response was not what it just hurt so much more because I felt so sick and I just wanted my mom.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, it does remind me of that Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Have you heard of this? Of, like
Yes.
mothers like making their kids sick or like inducing symptoms because they like to take care of their kids in that way.
Such a good call. Yeah, that movie was that documentary, Mommy Dead and Dearest, right? Isn't it something like that? Have you seen that
I
one?
haven't seen that. I know
That is so appropriate for this
there's the
film.
TV show Sharp Objects that's about that. There's like a mother character that it does the Munchausen thing, and yeah, it's very, very creepy. But that's kind of what Creeps is doing to Daniel Day-Lewis by the end. Is like poisoning. Yeah, she's
Creeps is creepy.
Creeps is creepy.
Creeps is also the mother in Old.
Oh, right.
Bring it back to Shyamalan. Yeah.
What?
That's a movie I'm a big fan of. Old by M. Night Shyamalan. Vicky Creeps as the mother in that movie.
Old is your tar.
Pretty basically. Yeah, I guess we should probably get to wrapping it up here. Probably we've talked for a good while. So let's go around, give our final thoughts on Phantom Thread. Let's start with our guest, Alex.
My final thoughts on Phantom Thread. I will rewatch it so many more times. I love the cast, Daniel Day-Lewis especially, and Vicky Creeps. Thank you, Paul Thomas Anderson. I love this movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I said way too much. So those are my last thoughts.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff we didn't even hit on. We didn't even talk about the New Year's Eve party scene, which is one of my favorite sequences. Just like how incredible like that set is and all the costumes and like there's like parade floats inside the building. I don't know. That and Old Line Sang is playing. It's like what a great scene.
It reminds me a lot of Babylon.
Yeah, just like the wild old school kind of parties, Babylon. And then there's lots of great lines and stuff in this movie. I think this is a great movie. Everybody should watch it, rewatch it.
Yeah, I think because, I spoke a lot to it being for me related to mental illness and relationships. It again was mentioned by I forgot her name, but Leslie Serial's character that
Leslie Manville, I think.
Yeah. This movie is really ultimately about the human condition. And so that being said, I think this film is made especially for every individual person. And that's what's so beautiful about it, I think. And I think that in other conversations we can have later on and with other people, I would imagine that would be supported in those conversations too. I feel like it was made in a way and by people that open enough to be able to be interpreted by and related to everyone's unique experience if you're human.
Yeah, and I do love movies about relationships as well. I have a soft spot for that, especially kind of toxic or ones where there's a lot of fighting, like movies like Before Midnight and Revolutionary Road and like Singings from a Marriage, that Ingmar Bergman series. Like I just like
Marriage is so good.
I love that shit. And so this movie has some of that without their toxic dynamic and just all the little jabs they get at each other and the tension between them and the occasional love between them, I think is really well depicted. And yeah, kind of interesting because like PTA kind of has like a little love trilogy. He's got Punch Drunk Love, and then he's got Phantom Thread, and then he's got Licorice Pizza. So like I feel like those two other ones, those are more positive, less toxic, wholesome looks at love, but this one is much more nuanced and very interesting. So that's why I love rewatching this movie, because there's so much juice to get out of it.
Well, and this one
Mhm.
goes deeper into a
Yeah.
relationship, and the other ones are much more, I feel,
Like the infatuation.
or yeah, the introduction infatuation.
But
Yeah.
there's that infatuation period in this movie as well. But it
Right.
just quickly subsides, or like he quickly gets annoyed. And even after they get married, even on the honeymoon, there's that one bit where she's like slurping her cereal, and he just like gives that look like, oh God.
What did
Like,
I
but-
do
I'm
marrying this woman?
She like bites the spoon and he's like,
and
God damn it.
he does like a big sigh, like, I guess I married this
Yeah.
noisy breakfast eater.
He doesn't belong in this house.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
anyway, we're saying bye.
Yeah, no, this movie is growing on me for sure. Maybe like a mushroom. But I didn't really know what to think when I first watched it. I felt like it was slower than a PTA film.
Same.
I just feel like PTA is so good at like having multiple characters and so many different sets. But this movie is basically, as he calls it, a three-hander. It's three characters and one setting. You don't even you
Mhm.
barely even go outside in this movie.
Mhm.
And so I was a little off put by that in the beginning, but as the movie goes on and you realize what's actually going on and the subtext of everything, and the dialogue is so strong and the lines are so funny and weird.
Fucking chic. Chic. What the fuck is chic?
Yeah. What does that mean? Like, it's like,
And then it's like, I don't give a tinker's fucking curse. What Miss Vaughn thinks or whatever.
What does he say? If I blah blah blah, then maybe someone will come into my room in the middle of the night and corner me and ask me about their fucking asparagus.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I admire my gallantry.
Oh, I'm just admiring my own gallantry for.
Yeah, he's such a spoiled brat. You were talking about his childlike quality, but it's like very specifically like kind of a spoiled brat.
And he finally,
quality.
in that scene, gets Alma to stoop down to being a child with him. And she's, yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and she just starts mocking right up until that point. She's been able to be very mature and respond just matter-of-factly. Up until that point, she breaks.
Mm-hmm.
What a model of politeness you are.
Oh, we didn't even talk about all his bow ties. He's got killer
yeah.
bow ties.
Yeah, great bow ties. The one thing that we didn't talk about is the doctor who he just tells to fuck off. and then he meets him and he's like, "Oh, how's it going? Yeah, I remember you. Didn't I tell you to fuck off?"
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like, I like that relationship because he's basically telling the doctors like, there's only one person who takes care of me, and that's Alma.
Or my mother. Same thing.
And then he does kind of give in at the end when he's like, I'm really sick. He's like, maybe we should talk to that doctor. And Alma's like, yeah, no.
Do you trust me?
Yeah, I like Daniel Day-Lewis's performance here because I feel like he's very over the top with most of his performances, but this one is so subdued and so subtle, but he still has that like explosive energy, and like you just see that like vein on the side of his forehead, like
Very
about to like
tense.
explode. Yeah, like you just like he's got all this like bottled up rage or just like something's going on in his brain that's like about to pop, and it's very apparent. But he's just, everything is so just very soft and deliberate and articulated.
Yeah, and that's very true to his like actual speaking voice too.
That's funny.
Because he is British.
I didn't realize that until I listened to him speak more.
But he doesn't do a lot of British roles, and I think maybe that's part of this feeling really close to home to him, is that like this is set in London, and he is playing a British character, which he usually is playing like these American characters. So yeah, I think that kind of factors into his retirement and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, just taking it back around to the mother. Remember when he's talking to the princess and he's like, gold or silver lace or pearl. And the mother is wearing pearls like all along her dress. But like when she says like she wants lace, he's like, good choice. And then obviously he tears the lace and he writes never cursed in there. So I'm just like wondering what the significance is between like, I think like he like only wants his mother in pearls. Like that's like such a sacred
Interesting
symbolism to him that like he's like nobody else is going to be wearing pearls other than my mother.
Yeah, no, and I think something to just like, throw at you to consider too is another part, a lace element I remember is the lace that he saved from the war. Remember, he pulls it out and some lace material that he said he saved from the war, and he was making a dress for Alma, I think.
Oh, yeah, I don't even remember that. But yeah, I mean there's something about like the lace and the pearl that's like a dichotomy. I don't know, this movie is so rich with symbolism that like you really can dissect like every single little moment and everything that they say.
And I think that's why I love it ultimately so much.
Yeah, and there's a lot unsaid. The phantom thread.
Yeah, that was I brought that
And
up
so
at the beginning,
there
but
is some mystery to it. And
What is the phantom thread?
what do you think?
love? Could it be love?
I mean, to me, it's the secrets sewn into the clothing,
I
you
love
know,
that.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean,
I was
I
thinking about it
don't.
this week. I was thinking if one word, the one I landed on was misery. I thought is the thing that ties everything, the phantom thread that kind of ties everything else together. It was only when they're
And his mom is a bit of a phantom when she's standing in that his
yeah,
room
so
when
like
he's sick,
motherhood being threaded, or that his mother, his root of his condition being
needing to
threaded
be taken
through
cared for.
everything that's preceded in his life. Yeah.
Motherhood could be the phantom thread. Mom month, who
Ooh.
knows?
There we go. Full circle, folks.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. This is a
Yeah.
great
I
talk.
wasn't going to for a while. It really triggered my anxiety. I was like
Oh,
in my head a lot about it. And then finally one day at the farm, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do the podcast. Like it finally like came out, and Mom and Dad was like, you don't have to. And I was like, yeah,
yeah.
I just don't know. And I just sat with him and I shut down that conversation and then like sat on it a while longer. And then I actually got really excited to, especially because of the film I chose. I feel really comfortable talking about this kind of thing. And I love this this approach to a conversation that's very open to interpretation and like you said, Austin, that there's so many different interpretations to
Yeah.
consider. So that made me feel really good about it. And it's proven to be very fun. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, you did great. You had a lot of great insights and a lot of interesting things to say. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you came on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And it's just so great to talk to you. I'm so happy you're part of the family. I think it's just an awesome new addition to the family that I don't know, just it's very heartwarming to me. Just we've got Sailor, we got Caleb's married now. It's like, wow.
Yeah, the idea of Sailor coming in was a great bright spot in our family after our grandpa died and stuff.
He
It's like
definitely, Grandpa Andy opened up a space for sure.
And
yeah,
you're
it's so
AZ
good.
now. You're the new AZ.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't even put that together. Yeah, RIP Grandpa Andy, we love and miss you. And also just Caleb and I are working on invitations right now, but to the family, since this is Film with Family, mark down September 30th on your calendars
Oh,
to join in on celebrating mine and Caleb's love and commitment and marriage.
lovely.
Yeah.
I'm putting it in my calendar as we speak.
Sweet. It'll be in Eunice on the farm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming me. I love your family. I love your brother, your cousin so much. The same person I'm talking about, by the way. Not you, Drew. I love you, Drew.
Caleb.
Drew's cool.
Yeah, Caleb is yeah, Caleb's my honey bunny, and I'm really grateful to be in your family and to be a Zweifler.
Awesome. Well,
Nice.
welcome to the family. You're more than welcome.
But yeah, we'll say goodbye to our listeners. Make
Yes.
sure to rate and review our podcast wherever you're listening. And we're on social media at Film with Family on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, and you can check us out on Letterboxd to see what we're watching in real time. Austin C. Pruett and Zachary Zweifler. Also, if you want to send us an email, filmwithfamilypodcast@gmail.com. Send us a voice memo or just a photo of Reynolds Woodcock if you want.
Yeah, send us pictures of you watching Phantom Thread, whatever. Just send us something.
Send us a picture of your favorite mushroom or your favorite tea.
Yeah.
It's morel season. Keep a lookout.
Yes. We love mushrooms. We love the movies.
And we love our
family.
We always fuck this up.
Yeah, I should just let you take the second part.
We love our family.
And we love the movies.
See you next week, folks, for another installment, our final installment of Mom Month.
Stay tuned for the finale of Mom Month. Who knows what'll happen?
Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.